A shout out to our podcast sponsor, sportsponsorship.co.uk. If you or your business are interested in making a real difference to the Scottish game, supporting hundreds of kids into regular football, get in touch with sportsponsorship.co.uk and they'll find the right fit for your brand. Hello. Yes, welcome to Tinpot on Tour. This is episode 3 now, I think, of Tinpot on Tour. Is that correct, gents?
Sounds about right, yeah.
It's a good start, isn't it? Nice and professional. Tinpot on Tour are Friday episodes. Where normally we look at a quick review of the football matches that have been happening midweek, but we are just back from an international break. We've had a couple of episodes all about the Scottish men's team. And we felt that in the weeks before that, we'd been dominated by Scottish Premiership action and the Scottish teams that are competing in Europe. And we've sort of neglected the lower leagues, if you can call them that, the Championship, League One and League Two. So we're going to have half an hour or so just now just discussing all of the major headlines that have been taking place in those lower divisions. So strap in for some lower league action. My name's Tom. I'm going to be your host for the next half an hour or so. We're joined by our resident sugar addict, Matthew Strugnall, and the teddy bear of the pod, Andrew Guild. So, welcome, gents. Hope you're both well.
Howdy.
Howdy. You've been watching too much Vintage Le Point with that sort of chat.
I have actually literally just come off a little 1 minute video of Vintage talking about Dumbarton Rocks and how you're allowed to bring your dog along as long as he's on the leash, or she.
Leash, not lead.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure he said leash, but I mean, I could be corrected. What a guy! What a great way to start my day, just watching a bit of Vintage on the old socials. So.
Was he singing or?
He was not. No, he wasn't. But I'm sure.
You'll be there at the Rock.
I'm sure he'll be doing a couple of. I would be surprised if he didn't.
Is he not headlining?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I'd be surprised if he didn't do that, or maybe just sort of pop on stage as like a band's playing and just like rock out a little solo or something like that,
Marty McFly.
Yeah. So no, yeah, good start to the day with a bit of Vintage. So can't complain about that.
Fantastic, yeah. That's a good way to start the lower league episode as well, talking about Dumbarton's owner. So we'll have, 10 minutes or so on each of the three leagues. We can't discuss every team in every league, obviously. We'd be here for hours, but just the main talking points. So we'll start in the Scottish Championship, a league that has a reputation for unpredictability. So I was just wondering what you guys thought. Do you think this year's table reflects that, or are we starting to see a clear divide between promotion challengers and strugglers? What do you think?
I think that it's hard. I don't think you can predict the Championship in 5 games. You see Arbroath sitting in third, still in that buzz from winning the league. That'll surely fade away. It's happened before where the team coming up, obviously Falkirk last season, but that was a bit different. But St Johnstone at the top, I think that's the real outlier. I think that's where they'll stay the rest of the season. And Ross County at the bottom, surely that's going to change. They will go on a run at some point, you'd imagine, fairly soon, and push up the table. And other than that, it's all to play for, really. I mean, you've got Ayr, not won a game yet. Morton on 4 points, Dunfermline on 5 points. Thistle have started quite strongly as well. It's a mad league, and I can only see it getting just flipped on its head. Like, apart from St Johnstone, they'll stay top. You can put your house on that. Anywhere else, it's all to play for.
They're strong enough to maintain the squad depth, don't they? So
got a great squad, scoring goals, which is a change.
I think that's fair. It's too early to tell, and also it's quite confusing when you've got half the teams haven't played 4 games, half them haven't played 5. Those teams down at the bottom, Ayr, who I'd predicted to do really well, if they win that game in hand, I mean, it takes them 4 points off of Wraith and Arbroath. That can be overturned in just a couple of weeks, can't it? So, yeah, it's always that unpredictable league. It's like I say, it's got that reputation, and it's far too early to be saying that 2 or 3 teams are going to run away with it, and there'll be 2 like the rest of the teams will be languishing down the bottom.
Could be another absolute classic where you've got like going to the last few games where you have like pretty much every team has something to play for. That's just how it goes in the championship. That's how I see it going this season. I'm struggling to predict where anyone's going to finish. It's just wild. It's a wild ride. So enjoy your Friday nights on BBC Scotland.
Yeah, it's a great advertisement for the Scottish game, that division. So you think that, I mean, which teams down in that bottom half then do you think could be pushing? So we're saying St Johnstone probably going to be first comfortably. So you've got three places.
I can't see
in the playoffs.
County catching them. I mean, it's 8 points at the moment. St Johnstone have a game in hand.
Yeah.
That's going to be 11 points. I think County's aim is to get second spot in that. You never know. They've obviously lost to St Johnstone already, so they've still got to play them 3 more times, so they could get 9 points back from them. But I mean, I think St Johnstone look very strong. I don't know where they're going to lose many games. They drew with Morton last week, which was the week before, which was a shock result. But I think their attacking options are really deep. So I think that's the way to go this season for them. Just sort of pound.
You don't think
down.
Wraith can challenge? They've got Dylan Easton, who's top goal scorer at the minute, 4 goals.
I don't think Robson is adventurous enough to win the games that you'll be happily to take a draw. I think that's his sort of vibe. I don't think he has the mentality to go away and win these games. I think you saw it last season. We went away to Thistle and we played for a draw. We got a draw. If we'd gone and won that game, we would have finished above them in the league. So I think he's a bit too conservative to really have a challenge at the top. And also we're playing St Johnstone at home this weekend. That'll be a real eye-opener to how good we are or how much we can compete with them, because I think Robson likes to have his team set up quite defensively. He's played 5 at the back or 3-5-2 with wing backs, and he's barely played a striker. And McMullen's been up front, just sort of chasing and harrying. Obviously, Dylan Easton's got most of the goals. So if we can really sort of find the balance between them both, the defence and the attack, to really sort of push on. But I can see us getting playoffs. I think we're good enough to get in the playoffs. I can't really see us losing too many games this season. I think we'll do okay, but I mean, in terms of where we'll finish, I think getting the playoffs, that's a good season for the Rovers. Like, it's a really strong league. Like,
that's the expectation pre-season, isn't it? Getting those playoff spots. But you've got them at home. It would be a great way of upsetting the run that St Johnstone have been in. So if there's a team in that league to do it, like you say, with the way Robson sets up, it's going to be Wraith. But you've mentioned County already. They're languishing down the bottom of the table, 2 points from their opening games, and they've had that recent change in management. Don Cowie going out, and John Robertson was obviously elected as interim head coach, but they've brought in Tony Docherty, who's got great experience in that league and in the league above. But I'm going to come to you, Andrew. Do you think that's the sort of managerial appointment that County are going to be expecting long-term results from? Do you think they're going to stick around that pairing of Docherty and Davidson, or is it going to be more short-term stability and with the mind that Docherty's probably looking for a bigger job? I don't know. What do you think?
Actually, not from that angle necessarily. So I think that if Callum Davidson was appointed manager, when there was a vacancy, no one really would have batted an eyelid, because he's capable at that level. I think Tony Docherty is at the level he should be at with County. They're a good side. They're well funded. They've got a good track record in the Premier League over the last 10 years or so. If anything, it would be hanging on to Callum Davidson. I think whether an opportunity pops up that he might then take. But I mean, what a duo! I mean, there's not a management duo like that within that league at all. And to be honest, even if you look at the Premiership, having two managers with a decent track record. One as assistant, one as manager. Especially with a recent history rather than maybe someone who's been out the game for a long time. I think that'll be a real dream team. Having met Callum Davidson a few times, he definitely seems like the kind of guy that is is a good man manager. He's good at building relationships. He's good at keeping people on side. Um, he's got a great sense of humor. So I think that as an assistant, in that role, I think he'll actually do really well because he'll bring a lot of the identity, that maybe Tony's wanting to try and adopt, nice and early. So I think it'll be an absolutely brilliant dream team there. They need to gain momentum quickly, though. Obviously, I know Tony's not had the best start, but no one was really judging it with the timings involved. But yeah, they really need to hit the ground running now. They need to be, looking at a little bit of fortune as well. They will have ambitions still to win the league. I know there's a huge gap at the moment, and obviously St Johnstone do have a game in hand, but um, they need to be looking at teams like Wraith to be picking up points, against St Johnstone. I don't think St Johnstone's momentum will last forever. There will be slip-ups there, over the course of the season. I can't see that not happening. But it's probably quite a small pack that you're really relying on taking points off, and then Ross County have to turn from being fairly woeful to being absolutely ruthless. So it's a huge turnaround job required for the sort of dynamic duo of Docherty and Davidson. But I feel they're very capable. I think they're both very highly rated in my eyes. So yeah, really going to be relying on Wraith. Matthew was saying Arbroath might fall away, but early in the season, you want them to be trying to sort of collect points. Partick, Dunfermline maybe need to pick up a gear or two, and so do Ayr United. Aside from that, you're not really expecting too many slip-ups with the likes of Morton, Queen's Park, Airdrieonians. So I think that's really what County need. They're relying on the rest of the pack as well as their own kind of fortune. But that game, if that does happen and they start to gain momentum, that game on I think it's mid October is going to be a real big one between those two to see where they are.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be fun for County. I think they're going to score a lot of goals now that Doc's in. Like, he likes to get his teams attacking. Obviously, you saw at Dundee they scored a lot. They did concede a lot, but they had fun. And I think in this league, if you've got a lot of firepower up front, you're going to win a lot of games. Still got Ronan Hale, amazingly. He was He was actually on the bench for Ireland against Northern Ireland against Germany, and in the other game. So he's a class player, and he'll bang in a lot of goals. Yeah, I think it's a good job for Doc. Like, he's going to come in, County have a lot of money. They're a big club. They're going to get promotion possibly this season. If not, they'll aim to win the league next season, and then he'll push for top six for next season with them if they get promoted or whenever they do get promoted. I mean, look what happened with McInnes. He took the drop down. It worked really well for him. Yeah. You're a big fish in a... Is it a big fish in a small pond? Is that what they say? Is it not a big fish in a big pond? That would just be like the sea. County are going to win that league or going to get promoted one way or the other at some point. He's going to be the manager, and that looks great on your CV.
Yeah.
And they always back their managers, County. They've always had a turnaround of players. They always support the managers and they give them the resources they need. So yeah, I think it's a good move for them, a good move for Ross County. Davidson. What do you think about Davidson? Do you think he's done with management, or he's just taking an opportunity to learn from Doc and to work with him for a bit before he sort of looks at his new job?
I think this is a good opportunity for him personally. I mean, you look at Ian Murray, for example, gone from having a decent job, great track record, very close to promotion with Wraith to then being unemployed for quite a long time, so I think it's very good for Callum Davidson to keep relevant, keep busy, and even if he is in that assistant role, would he maybe then take an assistant role with a much larger club, down the line, potentially? Would it open the door for him to step back into management easily? Of course it would. It'd be much easier than doing that than staying off the books entirely. So I think it's a real great bit of recruitment from Ross County. I think they've done really, really well there. And just to tie up on your last sort of point there, Matthew, about sort of promotion, you got to look at Ross County's record of being on the other side of the playoffs. They're very good at churning out results when they really, really need it. Obviously, I know they slipped down, last season, but you've got to back them when they're in form. If the feel good factor is there that we think should be there, with this kind of management team and the organisation, going forward with Tony Docherty, that organisation at the back, that Callum Davidson was really good at when he was at St Johnstone. I think that I think you could be looking at a really scary animal, for whoever falls into that Premiership playoff spot, because the last team you're going to want to play is Ross County if all these ducks sort of are in a row by then.
Very fortunate timing as well. I feel being looking for a manager and having Tony Docherty available. You've got to, as if you're a County fan, you're thanking Gordon Strachan. Imagine they'd kept Tony Docherty. Stephen Presley's currently out of a job. They've gone and employed him. It's disaster zone to be down in League One. But no, it's a great duo to a point, and it'd be remiss of me to not go back to the name dropping of Callum Davidson earlier. I won't ask you how you've met him a couple of times or what those interactions were like, but it's the first name drop of the pod.
St Johnstone
Matthew,
friend.
you've got Callum Davidson to beat in the top trumps game for next week.
Someone at my work knows Zach Rudden, so I sort of know Zach Rudden.
Davy Crawford?
I'll keep an eye out for him. Apparently, if he's in Dunfermline, I'll just what. No, the boy told me that Rudden was getting a move to Dunfermline before it was in the news, so there you go. I'm in the know, mate. I'll let you. Any more Rudden news? I'm your guy. He does move a lot, so he could be gone in like 6 months. Someone else.
Never reveal your source.
I know.
Never. Right, we've had a wee bit of a blather about the Championship there. It's time to move down a league into League One, and again, there's a wee bit of a divide in this table. We've got one team, a bit of a surprise in my opinion, leading the pack in Queen of the South. Alloa were always expected to do pretty well in that league, having been spending most of their time in the last 10 years or so in the Championship. And Cove and Kelty are the teams at the bottom. Cove, surprisingly so, I would say. Kelty had it been expected to be down at that half of the table. But we'll start with a question for you, Matthew, just about Caley Thistle, because obviously they've had a points deduction and have handled that brilliantly. They've got 4 wins out of 5, 7 points on the board, only 3 off of first place. So what do you think that says about the culture, resilience in that squad, the leadership, obviously, from Scott Kelleher? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, didn't I vote him manager of the season last season in our awards? So I think that just says it all really about this guy. He was just awarded manager of the month for the month of August. So clearly, the people who give that trophy, I don't know who they are, but they know ball like old Shruggy here. They've got a good squad. Like, they've got a good togetherness. They brought in experience with Wotherspoon, Chalmers, and they've still got big Mackay up front, still kicking about, like, and young players as well. Mix in with that. Alfie Stewart, Alfie Babbage, a couple of Alfies in the middle there. Got the big Divine at the back. I mean, they've got a great mix of experience and youth. They've got that little sort of give it up them, They're going to take these 5 points off us. We're going to fucking show them. They're going to continue from last season's form. And obviously Scott has been at the club for a long time. He knows the club. He knows how to motivate these players. Clearly, he's been given his chance. He's taken it. And I think his larger-than-life attitude is going to drive them to the title.
Nice. You can't name drop Scott Kelleher. You've never met him, no?
I've never ventured up that far to Inverness, mate. Too scared. But if he comes down...
You have? We went to a game.
Yeah, it was
mostly for the McDonald's on the road trip is the reason we went, but it was a good
yeah,
atmosphere.
We tried to go to all these McDonald's, and on the way back you're like, oh, I've got a sore head. I'm just going to... Obviously, we weren't feeling well, crashing.
Yeah, tried to do a road trip from Edinburgh to Inverness and back and eat at every McDonald's that was on the way. Turns out once you get past the bridge...
There's no more.
To go up the M90. There's not McDonald's between there and Inverness. So
someone needs to build one on that road.
Like one at Perth, like Broxburn or something like that. And then there's like then it's pretty much Inverness, isn't it? And then that's
Yeah.
it.
Someone needs to build one in Dunkeld or something, or like on the side of the road, just get a little shack, like, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And hell, they're missing a trick there, but yeah,
Well, you can jump into the new Cairngorm shack, which sells ice cream, sells coffees. It's on the way up the A9 now. I've got a
nice.
gift shop in there as well. It's
How
sort
far
of
is that?
pop in, you know.
Where's that? Where's the nearest sort of
It's
spot?
probably not too far away from your sort of Aviemore-ish kind of
Nice.
area. So kind of halfway up. Recharge the batteries, get yourself a little bit of a beverage there, a little bit of a perk. But
If I drank
When you
coffee, I would.
say
If I drank
there's a
coffee, I would go
Cairngorm,
to
sorry, just
Cairngorm. If I don't drink coffee,
just
tell
want
me.
to
oh,
clear up. It's Cairngorm Coffee, isn't it? Yeah. It's
Cairngorm coffee,
don't want
that's
people to be
right. Yeah.
confused and just go to the Cairngorms.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because they could
Cairngorm
be
Coffee.
anywhere. Yeah, that's right.
Do
But
they
yeah,
sell
no, that's
Lucozade or Red Bull?
yeah, sell all that, and they
Yeah,
sell
Monster.
some fancy soft drinks as well.
Nice, mate.
Ones that you don't really tend to see sort of around your average shop, which is quite cool. Nice to try something new, So
fancy, but
grilled
without the fancy price.
grilled cheese is right
So
up there
any
as well.
fans
With
on
the
their way
chili
to
gel.
Inverness, any fans from other League One clubs, get yourself to this place and get yourself a
Yeah,
beverage on the way up
and
the
tell
road.
them that Tinpot sent you there, and
10% off if you use the code.
should be a 90% discount probably.
Sounds fair.
Just ask Robbie, he's the owner. Just say 90% discount Tinpot voucher, and then he'll probably just knock the whole thing off. That's fine. Job done.
That's one business ruined with all of our thousands of followers going there and demanding 100% discount.
Exactly.
Lord loves a try. Let's get back
sorry.
to League One, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've discussed Callie a wee bit there. Matthew's given his tuppence worth on that, and obviously he's got a massive crush on Scott Kelleher, so it was obviously going to be an opinion that went that way. Andrew, on to the bottom end of the table with Kelty obviously just a point ahead of Cove. Do you think that is going to be a proper relegation battle? Is it too early to say? What do you reckon?
They're a point ahead in the game in hand, but Montrose are only a point ahead of that. So it is going to be a wee bit of a scrap between a few teams. I think Kelty do have by far the smallest budget within that league. So to be fair, they probably should be bottom half of the table, considering, and they have been punching above their weight at times, throughout the last couple of seasons. Cove Rangers being right down there is a bit of a concern. Obviously when we had a discussion at the start of the season, we were really tipping them to do some good things, whether it was in the cup or whether it was in the league. So you would expect their fortunes to turn around, but really, really bad start so far. But ultimately, I would expect probably the table to remain fairly similar in terms of who's inside and outside that top four-ish. Maybe swapping in like a Stenhouse Muir or something like that potentially. If I don't know, Cove or anyone within the sort of higher end of that sort of bottom half of the table is able to jump in or out. But Queen of the South should be up there. They've always had a reasonably healthy budget in League One. Alloa, not a bad budget too. Inverness by far, despite their financial difficulties, do have the biggest budget by a sort of stretch in that league. And they're doing exactly what they said they were going to do. So their momentum's good, and they've almost really sort of combated that points deduction already, and they should be hot favourites to win that league still. So. But yeah, down at the bottom, I think you can expect Kelty, Montrose, possibly Peterhead, to be sort of scrapping it out on paper. That's what it would look like. But it's one of those leagues that anyone can beat anyone, especially when these smaller teams, quote unquote, start to hit a bit of form. So who knows? But Cove Rangers is a bit of a mystery. I'm not sure what's going on there, and whether they're capable of bouncing back or whether there's something maybe a bit deeper there. I'm not sure, but hopefully not.
Hopefully not. I wonder how much credit Hartley's got in the bank from previous seasons to, I wonder how long he can go on a run of form like this and keep his job.
That's They've spent a lot, for a
Yeah.
club of their size, over the last few seasons, and obviously Hartley will be on a decent wage as well. So,
Are they intertwined together
pressure's going
though?
to be
Are
on.
they? Is that a relationship that can sustain like perhaps a relegation or a difficult season? Because obviously Hartley left and came back. He went to Hartlepool in that ill-fated spell and came back to Cove. So is he someone that's gonna be
I
sticking
don't
around no matter
know.
what?
I mean, ultimately, it depends what the ambitions of the club are. Ultimately, if they are quite happy to sort of bob up between down, and I say happy, no club really is, but bob up, up and down between sort of League One and League Two because of your budgets, then fair enough. But with, as I said, the money that Cove have invested, looking at their balance sheets, over the last, year or two, uh, I wouldn't really be expecting them to be sort of scrapping at the bottom of League One. To be fair, have they maybe overspent there? I don't know. Who knows? I'm not sure. Don't really have any insight on that side, in terms of are they performing according to their ambitions. But um, Hartley as well, he's a well-known name. He he will be on, as I said, a decent wage. He should be performing better than this. I think he'll get the time, before they make any snap decisions, because as you can see, obviously with Ross County, and quite rightly so, they made a quick decision, and then they've made some really good signings to replace that. But if this continues maybe into sort of your Christmassy period, I think they're going to maybe want to try and look and make an alteration. But let's see.
You're like the Rachel Reeves of lower league Scottish football. Got everyone's budget's down in your little black book. You know all the figures.
Well,
Good.
it's part of my day to day, isn't it? So
And
there you
Callum
Well,
go.
that's it,
Davidson's
mate.
number
You're
as well. It's just Callum Davidson's number, and then all the budgets from the
Callum
teams.
Just to be clear, I do not have Callum Davis's number, but
Callum, you heard of 4-4's budget, mate? Oh, it's not as good as you say. Callum's like, leave me alone, Andrew.
To be clear, I must clear this up on air. I do not, repeat, not have Kellen Davison's number.
I'll work on it.
Terrific.
I'll work on it.
Unbelievably partridge. We'll love to see it. Right. A quick 5-10 minutes on League Two. Then we've had Championship and League One chat, and yeah, League Two a fairly
Mm.
misbalanced table, this one compared to the rest. I would say there's a bit of a gap between East Kilbride and Spartans at the top. They've both won 4 of their first 5 games. We've obviously had Edinburgh City's points deduction, leaving them on -5. They're right down the bottom. And a couple of your expected teams are down near them, your Clydes, Elgins, Stranraers. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, I just wanted to ask you, Matthew, about the top end of that table. So East Kilbride, obviously, before the season started, made some big statements about what they wanted to achieve. So how important do you think that is for them to sort of follow up on that ambition for the wider perception of the club? You don't want to be laughed at,
Yeah, I think when you talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk, and they've certainly done that.
Did you make that up yourself? That's a good saying.
I just made it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Off the top of the old noggin, son. That's why I do what I do. I think the league is relatively weak, other than maybe the top 2. I mean, both of them have strong squads. I mean, you look at East Kilbride, got a number of experienced players. The Spartans as well, big Sean Welsh in midfield from Queen's Park. He's a quality player. I think they two will be battling for the title, and I think it'll be a scrap for the rest. I think Edinburgh City will make a push for the playoffs. They've obviously started quite strongly despite their points deduction, and I think the rest of the league is fairly weak this year. Like, it's not a good league too. I think that they have a gap already of 5 points in the top 2. I don't think they'll be caught. I think they'll be fighting for the title, and I think East Kilbride, they've obviously got a lot of good coaches as well. Scott Allen, Simon Ferry, and the boy Kennedy is running the show with his funky little haircut. So yeah, fair play to them. Like, they've come in and they said what we're going to do, and they're doing it. So
Yeah.
good luck.
There they are.
Good
Do
luck.
you think Spartans can keep up with that? Their level of spend compared to East Kilbride is going to be hugely different, I would imagine. I could ask
Come on, the
Rachel
Spartans,
Reeves,
mate.
but
I think they can do it. I
think so?
they'll.
I'd love to see it, but
I mean, they obviously came 5th last season in the league, 52 points. I think their squad's better this season. So I think they can do it. It's about just beating everyone else, really, yeah, and then seeing how it goes in the head-to-heads. I think, as I say, these teams look like they're the best two in the league. So, yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope they can keep up with that Spartans, because they're a brilliantly run club from my understanding. Do loads for community football as well. They've got a big branch of like women's football. They've got loads of stuff for kids. Yeah, they're just a really well run club. So it'd be good to see them boosting up the table. I know some teams have come through from sort of east of Scotland, south of Scotland, that sort of stuff, Highland League football into League Two, but purely just because of the amount of money they've thrown at it. They've spent a lot of money to get there, whereas I don't think Spartans have really done the same thing. They've kind of gradually worked their way up with young coaches, and like I say, the setup there is really good. So I'd love to see them succeed. But yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to cope with East Kilbride over 36 games. Onto a team at the other end of the league, which is Edinburgh City. We've mentioned them already. In great form, despite their deduction, similar to Caley in a way. Andrew, what do you think about that? Does that sort of points deduction galvanise the squad, do you think? Grouping together through adversity, do you think they're just not even thinking about it? Like, what do you think of the situation?
I think there must be some synergy there between the squad and the ambitions of the club. But the points deduction was for late payment or non-payment of wages. So, if there's anything to piss off a playing staff, that's it. So, maybe it suggests that it's slightly blown out of proportion. I hope. But, I don't want to see another Scottish club go to the wall again. So ultimately, if there is a problem there, I really would like a system in place to actually try and help rather than hinder these clubs. And a 15-point deduction is a lot. It's fair as the rules stand, but it's a hell of a lot. And as I understand, the points deduction is actually under appeal. So if that appeal is won, then obviously they're looking at getting themselves right up the table there. So let's see what happens there for just now. But the form they're on, they're not looking like they're going to be floundering at the bottom, even if that points deduction stands. Stranraer, not looking good. And I don't think that they'll. I think they'll find it really, really difficult this season. In terms of what's kind of above them, in terms of Elgin, Clyde, Annan, at the moment, I'd probably put sort of Forfar, Stirling in that bracket as well. I think they'll be sort of, fighting amongst each other for places. Spartans start is probably going to help them, come the end of the season. I don't see them putting up a title challenge against East Kilbride. I disagree with Matthew on that, unfortunately, but I really do like Spartans. I think they're a really well-run club. Obviously, you're mentioning about the youth football there and the programs they have there. It's brilliant. I've got a brother-in-law that's in that system at the moment, even from a commercial perspective, they've really come on leaps and bounds. Recruited from Falkirk, the first time they've ever had a stadium sponsor, all that kind of thing. So there's new fresh revenue coming into the club. Matthews obviously went through sort of the types of spends that they've got involved with, to improve the playing squad, which is fantastic. So Spartans have been in that league for a while. I'd love to see them kick on because of the infrastructure they have there, but they seem to be doing it in a very measured way, whereas East Kilbride are obviously rocketing up with really high ambitions. They're pumping money into it. They don't maybe have the infrastructure, from an academy perspective, etc., that Spartans have, but their first team ambitions are extremely high. I think East Kilbride will run away with this league at a canter. I think Stranraer will be rock bottom by a stretch. And I think it'll be a bit of a fight in the middle, to be honest. And the one area I do agree with Matthew absolutely bob on is that I think the quality in that league is significantly decreased, over the last wee while. So yeah, one thing I would predict though is I think Dumbarton will, as the season goes on, get more and more stability. I know, obviously, a big fan of vintage, but I do actually think that what they seem to be doing, infrastructurally behind the scenes, seems to be really, really driven to having a steady footing at the rack. So I think they'll be within that top four probably quite comfortably. But let's wait and see. But yeah, East Kilbride at a canter, Stranraer rock bottom. Hopefully Edinburgh City win their appeal. If they don't, then hopefully they can carry on and finish the season on a high because they're in good form.
Very well rounded up there at the end. Excellent. Well, probably a good place to finish. That was a fantastic review of League Two. Yeah, that's our Friday episode done. Ladies, gents, Dougs, everything in between. We are delivering episodes as we always do, Tuesdays and Fridays. And yeah, I don't think there's much else for us to ask other than get involved, get in touch. It's tinpotpod@gmail.com is the email address. We've got Instagram, social media @tinpotpod, all that stuff. You can drop us a DM as well. If you've got any questions for us or anything, any thoughts you'd like to share. But until Tuesday, have a lovely weekend and enjoy the football. See you later.
Cheers.